Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Happy solstice. Before I get into the astrology of and Capricorn season, I would like to have a quick chat about this time of year. So we have today on the 21st of December, the summer solstice, which is one of the 8 ancient pagan festivals that marks a turning point in the wheel of the year and the cycle of the seasons of the earth. So here in the southern hemisphere, the Capricorn solstice not only marks the ingress of the sun into the tropical sign of Capricorn, but it marks the turning point in the year where the sun reaches its height. We have the longest day and shortest night of the year before the days slowly start to shorten again and the earth turns towards the darker half of the year. So yes, Western tropical astrology is based on Northern Hemisphere seasons, as the tropical zodiac is designed to reflect the seasons of the earth, not the constellations in the sky, which is a common misconception. But I'd like to explore the symbolism we have here for us Southern Hemispheric folk, as we don't usually get a look in with this type of conversation. Now, traditionally, Capricorn as a zodiac sign is dry and cold. They are ancient astrological terms, but AKA it's winter. But the symbolism of Capricorn as the zenith of the natural chart, the final culminating earth sign, it's the peak of the mountain of work, ambition, success, achievement. I do find it very compatible with the symbolism of high summer, where we celebrate the vibrancy of life, vitality, abundance, and reaping the rewards of what we've sown. And here in Australia, at least, we do have some stark and unrelenting aspects of summer that are reflective of the harshness that Capricorn can sometimes express, like unrelenting heat, unrelenting weather in general. And also conversely, I do find the opposing sign of Cancer, which is the home being cozy, safe, nurtured, very compatible with the much more indoorsy, home-oriented season of winter and the winter solstice, especially because usually at home we're surrounded by our folk, our family, which is another Cancer theme. So this does still work in the Southern Hemisphere. And so at summertime in Capricorn, we're not at home, we are out in the world. With Capricorn, we're now at the apex and the culmination of our game of the year, and it's time to reap the rewards of what we've grown or worked towards throughout the year. Capricorn, even though it's the hard worker, the taskmaster, it is also about the rewards and the awards that we achieve through this work. And what better way to represent this than at the culmination of the year and the celebration of our achievements and jobs well done, and not having to return to them until next year, for some lucky ones at least. So astrologically, Capricorn season, it's initiated by this high frequency, almost climactic atmosphere. And the difference from Sagittarius season, which we've just exited or exiting, is that instead of this flary energy flying anywhere and everywhere that promises fun, adventure, and growth, with Capricorn, the traditions and structures in place at this time contain this energy within a framework that really instills the importance of this very high energy. And we all have traditions in place at this time of year, whatever you do or do not celebrate. It's the maturation of the year and it's the pause to restructure for what is coming next. This is the perfect time, to sound cliche, to set goals. On this day around the 21st of December at the solstice, and also when we have the Capricorn new moon, which this year is the 31st of December, because goal is a Capricorn word. And at this time of year, it doesn't really feel like a chore to plan sometimes, because we know that this intention setting or planning is for our benefit. And that's what makes this Capricorn-y period of time quite exciting or fulfilling, which isn't usually Capricorn terms unless you're a Capricorn. Responsibility is a Capricorn word. This can be a time even of increased responsibility depending on what you have going on, or a time when your importance or your responsibility is highlighted with the sun moving through Capricorn. This can also be a time of either reviewing any responsibilities or any roles that you bear and restructuring them or letting them go if you know that it's no longer sustainable or practical for you and where you want your life to go. Now, before I do proceed with the astrology, we really do need to talk about Capricorn. Capricorn is not always a particularly popular topic in astrology, and it's had some pretty tough press over the last few years, just because in 2020, some major conjunctions of several outer planets was occurring in Capricorn, causing somewhat of a major structural shift in the world in 2020. I wonder what that could have been. And also, of course, we've had the heavy hitter, Pluto, finalizing its long journey through Capricorn until November this year, entering Aquarius on the 20th of November. And that 29-degree point, the critical, anaretic, intense degree of Capricorn that was intensifying the already inherently intense Pluto, was feeling really real for about 18 months. So things have been feeling critical in those Capricorn areas of life, hierarchy, structures, whether internal within you or external, your career, work, jobs, responsibilities and roles, pressures around status and achievement, or even climbing the ladder another rung. And collectively, this was a lot of pressure on big business, corporations, government. I wonder what could have been happening around government while Pluto was at that 29-degree at the beginning of November. And when Pluto then finally entered Aquarius on the 20th of November, it did kind of feel like a bit of fresh air. Still intense, of course, because it's Pluto and Pluto is intense. But I feel like a lot of us had just had enough of Capricorn already. So what I would like to do now is just quickly, or maybe not quickly, depending on how long I ramble on for, just look at what Capricorn actually is. Like really, not just the stereotypical image of the big boss, the taskmaster, the hard ass, the business person, and focus on the fact that Capricorn is actually a feminine sign. It's a yin sign. It is the final earth sign of the zodiac. Earth is one of the feminine elements. It is preceding after Taurus and then Virgo, the other earth signs. And Capricorn is represented not by the goat, but by the water goat. It's the goat that has a fish tail. Don't ask. So how this sign has become popularly warped into representing just that cold, hard, unfeeling ambition and achievement over the centuries, which it can do. But it's been really hyper-focused on those qualities. And it's been a direct result, this representation of Capricorn, of the warping of the natural expression of the really exalted Capricorn, divine feminine. But that's another story for another time. Suffice to say here that Capricorn has been very masculinized in how it's been conditioned to align with our society's current exaltation of success, achievement, worldly ambition, social status, all in order for us to internally feel safe within society, using that Cancer polarity to subconsciously feed this drive. Anyway, the very steady, grounded, earthy, practical, realistic, organized Capricorn does have its toes or fins dipped in the water. It is in touch with, in other words, its inner world, its emotions, its needs, sorry. So the healthy Capricorn, it's not projecting those needs onto the world by hungrily achieving perceived success and status and thereby emotional safety and security. No, the healthy Capricorn fulfills its own needs, acknowledges its own needs, and takes that conscious responsibility and the goals and achievement and status and the apex of the healthy Capricorn life all stems from and comes from a very authentic and very real inner foundation. And this is difficult in this very status-oriented world that we live in. And this is what Capricorn teaches us. Ultimately, Capricorn does teach us about fear, and Saturn as well, because Saturn rules Capricorn. It's the fears that we have around our very material existence, our very place in this 3D world. It's adulting ourselves, being responsible. And it's the fears that we have that can indeed be the authority of our whole life. And it's the fears we have around what restricts us and also what we do to restrict ourselves and why. So the sun through Capricorn now is highlighting this Capricorn fear of lack or lack mentality, being driven by that fear of lack, driven by a fear of our structures crumbling around us because we just haven't worked enough or done enough to keep them steady. And this is a really valid survival fear, of course. And sometimes in Capricorn, it can be present where it isn't necessarily relevant, usually through either conditioning or prior experience. So this is what we work through in Capricorn season if we choose. The sun beaming its light onto these issues means right now it's a beneficial time to be working through these issues. So getting back to that divine yin, divine feminine, and how Capricorn is at the zenith of the zodiac. This is the zenith and the exaltation of divine feminine, which is simple enough to wrap your head around, right? It's the strong, solid, authoritative feminine, which knows what it needs. It's both able to give and receive in a healthy way. It's the realistic provider who has the experience and the wisdom of having lived in the material world and who understands how the world works. This is also the final earth sign. So it's the last step in the evolutionary process of the earth cycle. So I like to think of Capricorn as a building, probably a big building for an important purpose. And this building is built, of course, on the ground. The ground is Taurus, the first earth sign. It's the foundations, the earth upon which we walk. It's physicality, the physicality that we embody in this world, our senses, our body, and also our inner foundations. So it speaks of the very basic cornerstones of our value systems from which everything in our life extends from. So if the building itself is Capricorn, Taurus is the ground upon which that building is built, then Virgo, the second and middle earth sign, it's the things inside that building, the people, what they're doing every day, what they're working at every day. And Capricorn, therefore, is what are they all there for? Is it a hospital, a law firm, a school, an apartment building? And so the overarching structure of place is Capricorn. That's what Capricorn is. And so Capricorn can be seen as the materiality of the world itself. So the earth. Capricorn is our true place, physical place in this physical world. And what does our place in the world do? How does it function? What does it mean? And this doesn't necessarily involve that Capricorn word career. I mean, it mostly does just because of the way that the world works now. But your place in the world, your highest vocation, your calling, it could be anything. It could be to be a parent. It could be to be a surfer. Whatever it is, this is what the healthy Capricorn structures of our life and our inner world and outer world need to be supporting. And this, in Capricorn season, is what's highlighted at this time. I personally get very strong dragon energy from Capricorn. Dragons are earth beings. There are many legends, of course. They can fly in the air. They breathe fire. They can swim like Loch Ness, water. So they can embody all of the elements of this planet. But overall, They are sacred beings and protectors and guardians of the earth. They are apex magical mythological creatures of the earth. Very Capricornian. So strongly Capricornian people can be very protective, even parental for anything or anyone, but also for the world itself. They can be very strong environmental advocates. They can love working with sustainability. I know many who are avid gardeners. I know some who are arborists and forest regeneration workers. So sometimes the material world that we exist in becomes more significant during strong Capricorn times. So if you feel drawn to tapping into that very strong, grounded, powerfully protective energy of the dragon, can work very beneficially at this time. So this can work with your groundedness, work with your connection to the very apex of your being and where you want that apex to be. Or on the flip side, it can work with your restrictions from that fear that I was talking about, and de-restricting yourself by feeling protected and feeling safe to progress in what will sustain your true and ongoing success, rather than that holding back or that conservation or preservation of self to your detriment from a fear-based way of being. Okay, that's enough rambling about Capricorn. Let me talk a little bit more about transits. So after the sun moves into Capricorn on the 21st of December, it will go on to square the nodes, the north node in Aries, south node in Libra at 2 degrees. This will be on the 23rd of December. So an important thing to note right now is that the south node is actually now conjunct, sitting on the super galactic center. I've spoken about the galactic center before at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. I've spoken about the great attractor before, also in Sagittarius at 14 degrees. This is yet another gravitational phenomenon in space that we use in astrology. And it's not just the galactic center, it's the super galactic center. So whatever passes across or interacts with the super galactic center in astrology feels not necessarily magnified or expanded the way that I feel that it is when it's the galactic center. The super galactic center has an ability to add weight to something. It's at 2 degrees of Libra, and the south node also is at 2 degrees of Libra at this time. So this degree point is coming close to the world axis. So the world axis degree points are so called because they are at 0 degrees of the cardinal signs. So the first degree of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And they're called the cardinal signs because they initiate the seasons. And this is why it's also known as the world axis. And anything that occurs around this 0 degree point of the cardinal signs can have collectively within the world, it's the world axis, an amplified effect, as if this supergalactic center wasn't already amplified enough. So, whilst on a personal level, we're being shown how to structure our consciousness with the sun in Capricorn to work on our identity and the things that we identify with, the North Node in Aries here, the things that we identify with becoming who you really are. The sun is highlighting this identity journey of balancing self with other. This is the Aries Libra axis, and it's giving us the lesson or the challenge to work on it. Capricorn is work, and this T-square here that the sun is creating with this square to both of the nodes, a T-square is always a realignment. And now with the south node in Libra here conjunct the supergalactic center, the gravitational pull that you could be feeling of the other. Libra is the other, whether relationship, partnership, or whatever you are giving your energy in exchange to. This can feel so weighty, so strong right now, almost like You could be feeling pulled out of yourself in a way. And the sun in Capricorn, this is a difficult aspect, but the sun in Capricorn, it's earthing this energy right now. It's making this very real and material. And so it's making this journey quite tangible. And I think through this, the challenge that the sun is highlighting here is being able to keep your feet and firmly root and ground in who you know you are. This is the sun, but it's also the North Node in Aries. Aries is the strong sense of self. And the challenge can be here staying strong and grounded in your sense of self. And whatever is being highlighted right now for you as to what seems to be pulling you away from your sense of self, pulling you out of alignment, this is being shown to you tangibly for you to work on it. And this with Capricorn, it's hard work. It is hard. And because this is the final stage of the node's journey through Aries and Libra before entering Pisces and Virgo about the 12th of January, it's feeling quite intense and it's feeling bigger because it's on the world axis. And you could be experiencing things in your everyday within the world that are just reflecting this lesson to you as well. It's amplified. And with the super galactic center here on the south node, it's the universe's way of saying rebalance, realign with that opposition to the north node with yourself. You have to work on it now, because these relationship, othership versus self journey of karma, energy, soul, it's nearly closing out. I'm just getting, with Capricorn, there's a deadline. Capricorn loves a deadline. This is a soul assignment and you're reaching your deadline. The time to let go is now. South Node in Libra. This is a big letting go. And you can use the power of this supergalactic center to empower you with those ramped up Libra themes of justice, balance, harmony, peace, and ultimately, therefore, right relationship. Whatever that means to you, however you could be working with this right now. This could even be the meeting of or consolidating of new soul relationships after releasing the energetic space that old outworn relationships were occupying. So this could certainly mean a new relationship within yourself, or new reflections, Libra, is a reflection on who you really are and how you now relate to yourself, being in right relationship with self, with the North Node in Aries. And the sun in Capricorn is saying that there are now new contracts, new paradigm structures now with this supergalactic center. So it's so important to make sure that everything that you choose, Libra, can also be a choice. Everything that you choose to be in relationship with, things, people, projects, self, they must align. This T-square is a realignment. It must align with your true inner self, with who you really are moving forward. And you've got a deadline now. So the next thing I'll be talking about here, we've got this thing that I've been talking about for ages, the Jupiter square Saturn, with this ongoing Mercury in Sagittarius activation. So Mercury is now direct. It's making his third and final pass to this ongoing Jupiter-Saturn square, and this makes this another T-square. So there is some tension at this time with these T-squares. There are big choices and big lessons to be had. This could also be about turning a corner, because a square has corners. So with this Jupiter-Saturn square, this is growth, this is understanding, and this is also a conservation of energies and not wanting to extend yourself, but also maybe wanting to at the same time. And this square has been activated by Mercury going retrograde and confusing things a bit. And now the final pass is coming. The final pass of Mercury is coming on the same time that Jupiter and Saturn square is actually exact. So this is really honing in on this and highlighting this. So the exact Jupiter-Saturn square is Christmas Day, the 25th. Hooray. Then Mercury will oppose Jupiter retrograde in Gemini and square Saturn in Pisces on the 27th of December. So this energy has already been prevalent for a good month and a bit, and it's strongest, let's say, the last 10-ish days of December going into January. So it could also be mirroring or reminiscent of or a continuation of energies around the 20th of August, what you had going on at that time. And it's the conflict of expanding self and retracting self. And this won't be fully resolved until mid-June next year, because this is the growing pains of whatever we've been moving through to better understand where we want to go, what we want to do, how we want to progress, as well as integrating the work hazards and the harder aspects and realities of getting there. And this takes time. And these two, Jupiter and Saturn, the social planets, they usually make 3 passes to each other. The first was back in August. The second one is now on Christmas Day. The final one will be in mid-June. And the perfect phrase for these two together is working Saturn towards Jupiter. Jupiter wants to progress and blaze, and Saturn wants to conserve, work out the reality of a situation first. And so the question here is, how can you grow whilst conserving and consolidating what is necessary within you or externally to be able to keep going? And Saturn is the obstacle here with this square to Mercury. It's asking for the integration and conscious understanding, Mercury, of what we're wanting to work towards before being able to go for it and get there. And sometimes these hiccups or obstacles, whilst frustrating, they can give us a clearer picture in the long run, because they can make us realize how much practical energy that we're willing to put into something. It can be a reality check here. And it can be a reality check on whether it's worth it or not, whether doing so is for your benefit and higher good, which is both a Jupiter theme, but also Pisces. Saturn in Pisces is working for your higher good. So this could be a big choice point, a big turning point in our overall structural growth, internally or externally, structural Saturn, growth, Jupiter. And this is very collective as well. These are the social planets. They deal with the ethos, the mood of the collective, trends, styles, modes of being. And this could be getting an overhaul in your life too. But whatever it is, by June, when they are then in cardinal signs, they'll be in Aries and Cancer, the cardinal signs of initiating. They'll be making their third and final square, and they'll be well and truly ready to go after that, because cardinal signs begin, they initiate. And then it's even especially strongly forward momentum after that point, because their next aspect, I think, which will be in November, it'll be a beneficial trine, and they work together beautifully. So get through the humps, bumps, obstacles, the uncertainty with Saturn in foggy Pisces. Things can be quite undefined with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini opposing its ruler Mercury, and vice versa. They're in mutual reception. The facts and truths could be getting their wires crossed here. So getting through these growing pains, because you'll have that higher understanding of what ideas and connections will be serving you long term. And through that, how your dreams will be becoming a reality, Saturn in Pisces, to serve your highest good. So get through all of this, and because after this jigsaw puzzle piece is put all together, that's what we're heading towards. So have the trust, which is Jupiter, and also Sagittarius, Mercury and Sagittarius, and also Pisces. Trust that things will be working in your favor if you will it to be so. This is Mercury and Sagittarius now. By having that positive mindset and knowledge and understanding that there is a bigger picture at play here. And there's no point trying to force anything. With Saturn in Pisces at the apex of this T-square, the slowdown, the pause, the block or obstacle could be that space that you need to reconfigure what might be structurally unsound or not serving your highest good, or both. Saturn doesn't naturally like going with the flow, but in Pisces, this is the lesson we're being taught. Trying to organize and control everything at this point is actually counterproductive. And trust over fear is a big lesson with Saturn in Pisces here. So waiting until those puzzle pieces come to light, fall into place, come into play, come into consciousness. Wait, because there's only so much we can do. So using this time productively to really take advantage of these energies to integrate your higher understanding of what you're working towards, Jupiter square Saturn, and how it aligns with you, with this T-square with Mercury. So what choices do you have to make to align or realign it, or truly consolidate and integrate it into your life for your highest benefit? That was a lot. Take whatever resonates with that one. So now we've got on the 28th of December, Venus squaring Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So we have lovely Venus here. And with Uranus, this is a surprise, not a dreadful, world-shattering surprise, because Venus isn't always that harsh in hard aspects. Venus and Uranus are actually in mutual reception at the moment. So they're in each other's rulership, which sort of lessens the blow of a hard aspect like this as well. So with Venus in Aquarius, this is the desire, Venus, to be free, to be different, to do something different, even the desire to detach or be less personal. And the shift brought by Uranus, because Uranus always brings a shift or a breakthrough, could be something unexpectedly freeing. There could be sparks flying due to perhaps some of the stubbornness with these fixed signs or an unwillingness to shift. The tension here could be an awakening to something, or an awakening to a desire that could be a bit liberating, like letting off some steam in a healthy way, or having that aha moment, even though that aha doesn't feel perhaps very nice, because it could be a shock even. This could be around something to do with groups or friends as well, not necessarily relationships and lovers, as Venus normally represents. Aquarius is about your soul tribe, your groups and your friends. And it's important to be mindful of being too cold or too harsh. And it's because Venus in Aquarius can be a bit, in its expression, a bit unfeeling. So watch your expression. Don't zap anyone from any pent-up energy that you have, because Uranus is in Taurus, and this can be the rude awakening to come back to earth, for goodness sake. Get off your cloud up there in Aquarius, ground yourself, be more embodied, and that could be a bit of an unwelcome or rude awakening. This is what could be contributing to any tension in relationships or with friends, but trying to utilize this energy to be awakened and freed or illuminated, rather than with Taurus snorting like a bull with frustration or electrocuting anyone daring to try and come close to you, because Venus in Aquarius can hold people at arm's length as well. It doesn't necessarily like intimacy that much. So be mindful and don't force your way in if someone isn't willing or able. And you can use this energy even to do or try something different that might be challenging or taking you out of your comfort zone. And you can use this energy to add a bit of sparkle and a bit of feeling. On the 30th of December, we have Chiron in Aries stationing direct. So the wobble day, the station day is a bit of a limbo space. But after this day, the bridges we've been building within ourselves or in our life to heal our sense of identity and transcend into our true self with Aries could be feeling a lot more accessible in an external expression, moving about the world with that consolidated sense of identity. So we can be feeling more whole and sure and potent in who we are, and feeling really able to tap into the wisdom of what we've been through the acceptance of self and acceptance of experiences. This is how we become wiser, and that wisdom is what elevates us in love, in loving ourselves, scars and all. And that's what has been the Chiron journey in Aries. And ultimately, I see it as a self, Aries, acceptance, Chiron. And this sure is a time for it. This is what is fueling our healing journey most strongly right now. And this opens up more opportunities for the energies that match our own higher love frequency, because at the risk of sounding cliche, again, everything begins with loving the self. And if you have nothing else to grasp onto during this time, this is something that is always in your power to do. I will leave that with that at the moment. I will post another little mini reading of my tarot reading of the beginning of Capricorn season at some stage. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy the summer solstice here, enjoy the sun, enjoy the vitality of life. Really utilize this time to acknowledge where it is you want to progress to, where it is you want your apex of life to be. And it's a very fruitful, beneficial time to reflect on that and the ways in which you can practically and realistically gain that. In the meantime, I wish you a very merry summer and holiday season, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.